Many desktop motherboards provide a USB Type-C port either on the rear panel or through a front panel connector, but unlike laptop Type-C ports, they usually don't provide video output over that USB connection. Some more premium video cards include a USB-C port in addition to HDMI and DisplayPort, but there are still many video cards that don't provide a USB connection for displays. But with a simple desktop expansion card, it's possible to add an additional USB-C port that includes video output. Here I have a monitor that accepts video input over USB-C. If I connect a laptop or tablet to it with just a Type-C cable, it will recognize the display and allow it to be connected as an external monitor. But with my desktop, connecting it with just a USB-C cable from the port on the back of my motherboard to the monitor results in no video signal. That's because in order to send video to a display over USB-C, the output device needs to support DisplayPort or DP Alt Mode to send a DisplayPort signal over those USB-C wires. Most laptops nowadays have this built in, but most desktop motherboards don't, at least without expensive add-in cards that often work only with that specific brand's models. Now that's not really a problem, as I can run a DisplayPort cable from my video card to the monitor and separately connect the desktop and monitor with a USB-C connection so that I can use the USB ports on my monitor for accessories like keyboard, mouse, microphone, or external hard drive. But I was planning to upgrade my motherboard, and my current motherboard has a rear USB-C port, while the new motherboard only provides a front USB-C connector. This was going to pose a slight issue for me because if I route my USB-C cable through the cable management channel in my monitor arm and desk, it barely reaches the back of my desktop PC, but it won't reach the front panel of my case. I could change the placement of where I put my tower or get a longer USB-C cable, but there are, at least officially, limits to the length of a USB 3.2 cable due to potential signal integrity and signal loss issues. One option was to take the motherboard USB-C connector intended for the front I/O port and instead connect it to an empty PCI expansion slot in the back of the computer. But that would also mean losing the use of the front panel USB port. And after a bit of research, I instead found the Sunix UPA2015, which is a PCI-Express 3.0x2 card that provides two USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C ports and a DisplayPort input, with one of the USB-C ports taking the DisplayPort input and sending it over DP Alt Mode. So if I was going to spend money on a rear slot panel for the USB-C connection anyway, it made some sense to me, at least, to spend only a little bit more for this card, and it will allow me to remove the bulky DisplayPort cable, which was actually kind of overflowing the monitor arm's cable management channel, causing the cover to sometimes pop off on its own. And so I decided to splurge a little bit and buy this card. Now, there are two common models that I found in the US, both of which are officially Dell branded. One is the low profile model, which is the 0MR7MR, which is often listed as just MR7MR. And the other is the full height bracket version, 0RRV91, which is also often listed as RRV91. Since I was planning to install on a micro ATX system, I purchased the full height bracket version, which was about $10 more expensive. After the card arrived, I excitedly opened up the case of my system, only to realize I had made a really silly mistake. Micro ATX motherboards have space for up to 4 PCI expansion slots, and I knew that my graphics card was in the second position, with the second PCI-Express by 16 slot in the fourth position. My graphics card is a 2-slot card, so I thought this should be no problem. But since I hadn't looked carefully inside my case for a while, I'd forgotten that although it only takes up 2 slots externally, the shroud on the cooler extends a bit further and covers up the bottom PCI-Express slot where I'd planned to install the new card. So for now, I decided to install the card in my wife's PC. Her computer is using integrated graphics, so there's no issues with space. Although it turns out that her computer's motherboard also has the main PCI-Express full-size slot in the first position and the secondary one in the fourth. So even with a 3-slot graphics card, it wouldn't be a problem. The installation itself is fairly easy. Just open up the case, remove the blank slot cover for the secondary PCIe slot, and insert the UPA2015 firmly into the slot. Screw in the bracket, and that's it for the internals. After closing the case, all I had to do was use a DisplayPort cable to connect the DisplayPort video out on the motherboard to the DisplayPort in on the Sunix card, and then connect the USB-C cable to the port labeled DP. This last part is something to be careful about, as only one of the 2 USB-C ports on the card provides DP Alt Mode, with the second port only doing pure USB, So if you plug it into the wrong one, the monitor will not get any signal. After turning the system on, all we have to do is wait for the monitor to detect the video signal from the USB-C connection, and it should automatically switch over. Depending on your monitor and your settings, you may need to manually switch over the input to USB-C, but overall it's a pretty simple installation process, and even though it still requires a DisplayPort cable between the output and input in the back of the PC, it does save from running the cable all the way to the monitor. I'm eventually going to replace this longer cable with a very short one so that there's no need to find space for all the extra slack. This is a pretty universal solution that should work on pretty much any system. Well, at least provided that you have space to install a card. I do have a potential solution for my computer, but I'm going to need to wait a while before I can test it out, so that will hopefully come at a later time if I'm able to make it work.